And it's wrong. If we're going to criticize the Chinese for censorship, it's time to point out what's happening. So I'm throwing the gauntlet down. We're putting this up on the YouTube channel, and I'm going to have to take action because, look, the people, like Walter Cronkite said, have a right to not be manipulated and lied to. They have a right to see what's really going on in their name. And that little child in absolute horror with the whole bottom of their face blown off is just a snapshot of the millions that have been killed in these globalist wars. And it needs to stop. It needs to come to an end now. Speaking of Google censorship, we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, we have some news articles here. ABC and CBS News both cut away due to technical difficulties at the onset of the Oakland police violence. This is being reported by, well, they're admitting it. They're saying they had a glitch, a cutout. And ABC admits that they, quote, had a cutout, and so did CBS, if you believe that. Well, then, I got some disinformation to sell you. Disinformation company is actually a good outfit. They make the point that they're exposing disinformation. And then the Washington Post has coverage of the Oakland police rampage. They show a police officer petting a kitty. See, they've dehumanized humans. And that's why when the Marines were seen torturing that puppy to death, they tried to deny it was real at first and attacked yours truly a few years ago, and later admitted it was real, because kitties haven't been dehumanized yet. They haven't been, seen in simulated deaths millions of times on television. And so showing the cop petting a kitty, he's good, the humans are bad. It's all part of a puff piece. So I thought we'd go ahead and go to some footage that illustrates that this militarization of police is really what the Founding Fathers warned about and what Posse Comitatus post-Civil War warned about. That once you militarize police and once you teach them that the public is their enemy, cops are supposedly peace officers. Peace officers are guardians of the society and the culture. But military is meant to kill an enemy and break things, kill people and break things. And so when the police are militarized and mainly made up of folks who are mentally scrambled from 5, 6, 7 tours in combat, they now see the public as their enemy. And I saw an article in the Drudge Report talking about thousands of Marines on Reddit driving up the story of this young Marine, Scott Olson, being shot at point-blank range with a tear gas round that has killed people. Remember that Red Sox post game where they shot the girl for no reason in the face of the one and she died? And it talked about Marines by the thousands being angry about their brother. And I saw the comments by others saying, really? In fact, if you scroll down, I'm a Marine, and these Occupy Wall Street people are scum, and I say, kill them, basically. Well, whether they're Marine or not, everybody has the First Amendment. And we're going to show you the footage of actually what happened. So they shoot him at point-blank range with a canister you're not supposed to shoot any closer than 50 feet, and that'll still break your ribs. They shoot him with that just for fun because everybody else ran in fear when the cops pulled out the guns and had the German Shepherds, but the veterans stood right up there and said, we have a right to speak out against the corrupt banks. That's what they reportedly said. The cops said, no, you don't. Boom. Right in the face, his friend said, as reported. So he falls down, skull cracked, he's brain damaged, he might die right now. He's in critical condition, reportedly brain surgery. And the right wing's response is, kill him, he's not American. You have people that call themselves right wing. You're not right wing, you're not left wing. You're a bootlicker of the foreign banks sucking this country dry. Now, I'm going to show you footage. People run over to help the guy with blood pouring out of his head caved in, shot with a high-powered canister at point-blank range, and the cops just coldly pull a flashbang and throw it in the crowd like it's funny. Well, don't worry. The elite are going to treat you like that too, cop. They're going to take your pension funds. They're going to shoot you up full of cancer-laden vaccine shots. You think you've hired a bunch of you psychos and now you're just going to get away with this forever? Your own masters are going to stomp you flatter than a pancake. You shouldn't be worried about us. You should be worried about your own masters who God is going to turn loose to eat your lunch. Now, good cops should repent of this and speak out against it, or it's in your name. When you don't speak out against evil, or don't care enough to say it matters, or let somebody bleed to death in the gutter, it's on you. And that's common law. About 6 years ago, a cop got run over up here on the highway, and on the side of the road, on the frontage road, and people drove by for an hour and didn't help him, I guess because he was a cop, or they were intimidated by the uniform, and he bled to death. Then I said that was wrong. That's a fellow human being right there. But when cops sit there and watch somebody bleeding out of their head on the ground, people come over to help them, and you attack them, my God, you people, communist Chinese don't even act like that. I mean, you are really shameful. Let's go ahead and go to this next clip.
They have guns? Huh? They have guns?
Remember, the media pulled out right before this happened. Both helicopters were told to leave, working with the cops. This is Tiananmen Square.
Bushmaster, Crazy Horse 1-8.
And this, of course, we got our YouTube channel basically shut down over this. Everybody else was allowed to show it on YouTube, and the news could show it, but we can't show you these kids being killed or shot because we put it in a true context of what it meant, actually reached out to the military and pointed out that the U.S. Army came up and tried to save the kids. Here they are killing Reuters reporters.
Clear. Coming around clear.
Roger. Trying to,
I request permission to engage. I'm picking up the wounded.
yeah, we're trying to get permission to engage. Come on, let us shoot.
A Bushmaster, Crazy Horse 1-8.
And here you go.
Bushmaster, Crazy Horse 1-8.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Maybe under here.
And now we get into the coffins. When I was flying back from a news event earlier this week at the Austin airport, they had a guy killed by an improvised explosive device. I guess kind of like that guy shot in the head by the tear gas canister. But that's liberty when they do that. But this guy was killed by an IUD. And here, again, here's the Oakland footage from just a few days ago. We'll cut to where it actually starts here in a moment. Peaceful guy standing up there in front of the cops. They shoot him in the head with the canister. By the way, they're removing this video off YouTube and other channels. They don't want Americans to see what actually happened, where they shoot the guy in the head, and then when people try to help him, they throw a flashbang on him. Because it's funny. They're just American roaches, and these are cops that work for bankers. See that? He's over there. They're trying to help him right there. I think we have it where we slow it down, right? Yeah, here it is. They've shot him in the head. Here comes the hand grenade.
What happened? What happened?
You got hit. You got shot.
What's your name?
What's your name?
What's your name?
What's your name?
Shit.
Did he say
Medic!
Scott Olson was shot by police while standing still. The police fired at point-blank range, which is potentially fatal. The police shooting was unprovoked and incredibly dangerous. Well, you don't protest the banks that rape this country, okay? Besides, the cops are petting kitties. I mean, the Washington Post said so. So that's what they're doing in Oakland, according to the Washington Post. Petting cats. And you're against cats if you don't like it. Now, speaking to Google and its sub-company, YouTube, about this, and people say, oh, if you don't like YouTube, just get off of it. About half the video views in the world are on YouTube. We've reached 300 million people there in just the last couple of years. And they advertise it's free speech as long as you don't violate their rules, but then the government tells them to take stuff down, so they do it. That'd be like if you go to a restaurant and it says there's something on a menu, fettuccine Alfredo, and they bring you a rotten rat. It's false advertising. You have a right to get upset about it. This is the new political commons, okay? We built YouTube, and they've come out with their transparency report and admit all these different cases where they've been told to take stuff down by the government. by, quote, law enforcement because it shows police brutality, or in other reports because it, quote, is critical of the government. The government clicked that tab to request that something comes down. And now we have this little tidbit of news, and of course we have stories where, I mean, look at them. They just take everything down. Stuff on the Federal Reserve they don't like, they take it down. Stuff criticizing killing people, they take it down. People being shot in the head, it's taken down. We're finding our material blacklisted more and more. And now they've introduced a bill, which is to mirror the global treaty, where rogue website bill creates Chinese-style ban list. And again, I mentioned how they're saying take down stuff that contains government criticism. This is really happening in the United States. And that's why we're racing to build InfoWars Nightly News and our own platform. Because we understand that the big crowds and the new people we can reach are on YouTube, but for how long? And that's why if you're a YouTube viewer or one of these other video system viewers, you need to remember Infowars.com. And even if that URL gets blocked, we'll have our information on the web. There's ways to get around it. We have the InfoWars Insider email you can sign up to, where we can send you stuff even though they shut down our websites. Remember and think about how valuable this information is, and that people are going through a lot of trouble to bring you this, and don't always expect that this information is just going to be here. It's the Friday, October 28th, 2011 edition of InfoWars Nightly News. And, you know, we've been covering the war crimes of NATO and the globalists and their Nobel Peace Prize winner-led operation that is taking place in Libya. Now they say Syria. And after the globalists have wrecked the countries, they bring Muslim extremists in and put them in power and rebuild the nation. And I guess in 5 years we'll be blowing the country up again. This is this perpetual war for perpetual peace. Really schizophrenic insanity that we've now faced. Now, you know we've gone over the unbelievable, I can't believe this is happening, attacks on free speech, the First Amendment in this country. I remember 3 years ago when Australia tried to pass a law to ban any website the government wanted if it was anti-government or critical of corruption. And they couldn't get the parliament to pass it, so the prime minister said, well, we'll just do a test. And they did the test and shut down tens of thousands of websites, including dental websites, you name it. And, you know, we've shown you earlier and on today's radio show the Google Transparency Report. It's thousands of pages where the federal government, state government, local government would, quote, order them outside of law to remove things, quote, critical of government. Critical of government. Oh, this was critical. That's the word they use. Government criticism, critical, there it is. And they've, again, ordered YouTube to remove things containing government criticism. And local police departments said, don't show brutality. In fact, I've seen them today taking down videos that show the peaceful Marine Corps vet who'd been in multiple theaters, shot in the face, he's supposedly fighting for freedom, from a few feet away, point-blank range, with a high-powered tear gas canister by the cops. And they're saying, oh, get that commie, he deserves it. Well, I don't know if he's a commie, a libertarian, a Democrat, a Republican, or if he worships the Keebler elves. The point is, he's got a First Amendment. And I'm tired of people selling this type of corruption as if it's something good. And now they've introduced the Rogue Websites Bill. And they openly say this is for copyright, but you read the agreement, it's a national version of the international treaty where if a corporation says you're copyright violating or a government says you're doing something wrong, no judge, no jury, your website's gone, period. This is the type of world they're moving to, and it is very, very dangerous. We've had a lot of reporters ask, why have our videos been suspended by YouTube? Because they're effective, because they're waking people up. And then I have other idiots that come out and say, well, don't be on there then. They advertise it as a free and open forum as long as you follow their rules, and we do. But then they change the rules with stuff that they don't like because the government is putting pressure on them. Okay? This is how this this stuff happens.